Hello photo and welcome to our project this week. So over the course of this week we are going to make this poster composite, and when I say composite I mean that we are going to be making a composition of several different photos, bringing them together to make this project. So I'm just going to go down the line and show you that this is just a bunch of different images put together to make this project. So, and we're gonna make all these different layers over the course of the week, okay? So how do I get these images to put them together into Photoshop? So I'm gonna go to Canvas. All right, here we go. And we're gonna go down to Modules, Week 6, and we're gonna select Summative Composite Max the Elephant. Now, before I select the link to get the images, I wanted to point out that below where it says Upload Your Final Composite as JPEG, there is a PDF called Max the Elephant Composite. And pages 8 through 33 of that document will walk you through all the steps to take to make the final project, okay? So I know some people like written directions over, YouTube tutorial, so that's there for you if you want to read over that before you actually start beginning any process. So I'm going to select the image share link. Okay, these files are already in my Creative Cloud, but you guys will see a green button where it says copy to work below the folder that says composite. When you do that, it's gonna copy all those files over to your Creative Cloud. All right, so now I'm gonna go to Photoshop and I'm gonna hit Create New. All right, so under units, I want to make sure that I pick pixels. I want the width, the W, to be 2000, the height, the H, to be 3000, orientation to be portrait, it's on portrait and blue, the resolution to be 300 ppi, and the background to be white. All right, before I create the document, I want to name it with my first and last name, no spaces. Okay, so I haven't made you name a lot of things because we haven't been able to, but this is the proper way to name things to be able to find things again. So first and last name, no spaces, you can capitalize, then underscore the name of the project. So this one's called Max the Elephant, Elefante, and then today's date. So February 02/10/2021, and whatever date is for you. And then I'm going to hit return. Let me. Okay. And I'm going to hit create. Create. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. So now the first thing I want to do is enter that picture of the background. So I'm going to, on the left, I'm going to look at my toolbar and I'm going to pick the one that looks like a mountain sun picture. Select files. Go to Browse, make sure I select Creative Cloud, and then look for that folder called Composite, and I'm going to pick the picture called Background. Now it places it, and the background is the exact same size as the document, so I don't have to resize it here, I just have to hit Done. Okay, now before I get into anything else, I want to lock this background layer so it doesn't move around as I'm playing with my other images. So with my background selected here, I'm going to go to the dot at the bottom right of the task bar and select Lock Layer. And now notice the little eyeball has turned into a lock. Okay, now we're ready to bring in the next layer. We're going to bring in Max. So I'm going to hit the photo tool again, hit Files, and pick Max the Elephant. All right, Max is a little bit big, so I'm going to click and drag the white circle in the upper left-hand corner, click and drag in to make him smaller. I'm going to place him right about here, and then I'm going to hit Done. Okay, now I'm going to select a selection tool. I'm going to use the Select Object tool, and I'm going to click and drag over Max. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in, pinch in, and zoom and show you that it didn't do such a hot job. If you look underneath his trunk, if you look at his tail, it's like missing information. So I'm going to go to, notice the pop-up window that popped up underneath Max. I'm going to hit the dot, more, and say Refine Edge. Okay, now the marching ants, that's the selection. Notice it's just like these dots that are going around him. It doesn't really help me see what is and is not selected. So under view mode in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to change to overlay. That's how I like to look at things, okay? And we can see that underneath his trunk, there's green, and it like cut off some of his tail. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start brushing over that green area under his trunk. And so when I do that, I'm automatically refining the edge. If you look at the left, you'll see that you can change the size of the brush, and if you want to add or delete from refining the edge. And I'm also going to brush over his tail. And you can kind of make this bigger too if you want to. Okay, and that's just going to give me a better selection. Okay, there's also some other options here. You can smooth out the selection, feather it, which makes it, well, I showed you that before, contrast and stuff like that. So I'm going to hit done now, and that kind of made it a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to mask, and I'm going to zoom in. Oops. Mask, and it's something I thought I was undoing, and I'm just going to zoom in, and I can see there's still some green around his trunk, and his tail looks better, but not like exact. Okay, so I want you to look at the layers right here. Right now I have the mask selected. It's that black box, and what's white is showing and what's black is hidden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my paintbrush, and I'm going to pick a much smaller brush, and remember, if I paint with black, it's going to make some things disappear. So I'm going to go underneath his trunk and just brush around all that green and get rid of that. That looks much better. Okay. Now he's missing a lot of his tail. It's not evident. So I'm going to click and drag on the black circle at the top, click and drag down to get white, and I'm going to brush over his tail to bring it back. All right, and I'm not really like happy with this, so I'm gonna bring back the black, and I'm gonna make the brush a little bit more tiny, and then I'm just gonna go around the edge of his tail and bring it back so it looks like way more natural. So it's kind of just this game of, you know, like if you do too much, you do too little. Just try to make it look more natural, and that he does have a tail, that it doesn't kind of disappear. All right, and I'm much happier with this, and he's happy that he has a tail now. Okay, so Max is done. Let's bring in our final image of today. So I'm going to go to the mountain and sun again and go to files, and this time I'm going to bring in the mountains. Okay, the mountains are the perfect width, so I'm going to hit done. Okay, and now I'm going to select the mountains with the quick selection brush tool, and I'm going to brush over the mountains. Okay, now if it's selected too much like I did, right below add to selection, I could say subtract from selection right below that in the tool options, and delete kind of that little bit that accidentally I'm gonna go a little right there. We go. Okay, so I'm pretty. I just keep going back and forth between. Yeah, okay. So now I'm happy with that selection. So now I'm gonna hit mask. Okay, and it doesn't look very natural. So again, in my layers up here, I'm gonna make sure that the mask of the mountain is selected, and I'm gonna pick the paintbrush tool. I'm gonna make a much bigger brush, like maybe around like 480. Make sure that it's a soft brush, so the hardness is on 0. Make sure that I'm painting with black, and I'm just going to gently, oh, I like that. Yeah, okay, just delete a little bit of that. Now also notice that there's a little bit of a line at the top. I guess I just kind of didn't get that. So I had to delete that as well. Okay, so I still feel like I could do some stuff with this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make sure that the mountain picture is selected, not the mask. And I'm gonna go to properties, and I'm gonna go to add clipped adjustment. and I'm going to add a layers adjustment. I want to change the overall colors and depth of this. So at the very bottom where it says RGB, you're going to see a black, gray, and white circle. I'm going to click and drag the black circle over to where it says 45, and notice the depth of those mountains now. It looks so much better, okay? I'm going to select the mountain picture thumbnail again in the layers, and this time I'm going to change the opacity of the mountains to about 80, so it doesn't look so profound. That's like much better, okay? And now it looks way more natural. The other thing I might do, I might move the mountains just slightly down. So I'm going to take the mountains tool or the move tool and make sure that the picture of the mountain is selected and just move it just slightly down just a little bit. Yeah, and I really like how that like integrates now. All right, so this is what I wanted you to do for step 1. You're going to go to the share and you're going to say publish and export, and make sure you select .psd, okay? Otherwise, these layers will not be saved, okay? I'm going to hit export, and I'm going to pick Creative Cloud. And this is a big file, so it might take a minute to save this. And I want you to make a new folder called Max the Elephant. And hit create and upload. And in the upper right hand corner, you're going to look at the cloud, and the cloud is like swirling in blue right here, and that means that it's saving to that folder. Do not close this window until it's done. Okay. And again, it might take a minute because this is a really large file. So it's got a really high quality background image. We're adding different pictures into it, and now we're adding adjustment layers on top of that. And so that's a lot of information for it to have to save. Okay, so don't exit out until, okay, check mark. Go back to Photoshop. I'm going to share, publish, and export. Now I'm going to pick JPEG and export. I'm going to pick Creative Cloud, pick Max the Elephant, and hit upload. And again, it's uploading. And now it didn't take a very long time at all. Okay, so now I have those two files, the PSD with all the layers still intact, and I have the flattened JPEG. And now I'm going to hit, and now we're done with